Emmy, do you remember the first live stream that you ever did?
I do remember. The first live stream that we ever did as a team here, that I was a part of, was Belfast Improv. I was here upstairs in the theatre, using the old school NDI PTZs, which are great crack.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we didn't even have a room mic up. We had everyone on the pels, which was great because it was all during COVID. So it's definitely probably one of the better sounding live streams that I've ever done. But it was definitely an interesting one. I look back at that now and it feels like caveman tools compared to what we're doing now. And I feel very spoiled because I have such nice gear. But yeah, that was the first one that I was ever a part of here.
And yet, even if you've got better tools, there's the same feeling of adrenaline rush just as it starts. As you go, there's about 13 things that could go wrong in the next hour or 2 hours. And have I actually mitigated enough of them to get us through to the end so the client doesn't realise that we've lost the stream halfway through, kind of thing?
Exactly.
And no matter how small or how big, I get the feeling when I talk to clients, in the back of my head, no matter what I'm asking them, it's nearly always, how do we de-risk what you've just asked me? So you do most of your stuff here, most of it in the building these days, whereas I'm nearly always outside of the building.
You're always out and about, yeah. I do think that very similar, though. I think our jobs are sort of 10% knowing how to run the tech and 90% disaster predicting and trying to come up with solutions for, what if everything goes down. People kind of underestimate is the amount of backup that you need. And like certainly from my conversations with clients, I'm not sure if you've had this experience where they question you quite a lot. They're always like, well, you can have one Ethernet port. I'm like, it would be ideal if we have 2 and a backup Wi-Fi code. That's not the public Wi-Fi. Just in case it goes down, like anything happens, it goes down. Even just so that I can have a backup switcher on with just a very basic program loop out, just so that we don't lose anything.
I mean, I do a lot of stuff in weird buildings, so it could be hotels. They all claim that they have industry standard Wi-Fi, and I kind of go, it's a hotel. So it's quite likely that it will reset every 30 minutes because you've got so many devices and MAC IDs connecting to it that it runs out of things and just resets. And so kind of my general rule is I don't live stream over Wi-Fi except when I really, really have to at their risk. But then you've also kind of got problems with sometimes you do it in theatres and then you realise, well, the internet doesn't support some streaming protocols, RTMP. You can get to the web. You can possibly do Zoom, but you can't actually get to YouTube or get to somewhere else. So that becomes a problem. And you kind of go on, like, the client has no idea that in a university, so I'm lucky with Queen's, I can get access to their network. UU takes a lot of paperwork and recce's and going down, and it's a lot of extra effort. And so you kind of all these things, and I've kind of, a bit like you, I've seen it go wrong. I suppose my worst one, I don't remember my first live stream. I'm not quite sure even when I started. It just kind of accidentally came from recording things and then recording them live. And it kind of goes out. But I remember up in Parliament buildings in the Long Gallery, which I kind of often describe as it's kind of it's a room that basically attacks you because the Wi-Fi, which has improved greatly in the last year, but the original set basically attacked any other devices that were there. And my cameras are Wi-Fi quite often, though less nowadays because it's happened too often and I wire them in. But it was Wi-Fi coming back to my wee hub. And I mean, Google Wi-Fi hubs they're quite cheap, but they're a bit more advanced than some of the consumer stuff. And I lost camera after camera after camera. And it was being put onto Zoom, and I realised that I had to plug a camera straight into the laptop. So I had one. And there was a point when, thankfully, they were doing slides, and we just went to a slide view on Zoom because I had nothing left. And I was nearly putting the camera up and just recording so that I could give them something afterwards. And it was amazing. I was kind of thinking, like, everything I have to hand I am using today because it just went wrong. And then there's things that go, I've done 3 days in a row of filming in a theatre, and it's just worked. Now, it's been live streaming without having to be live, so just recording it live. But you're kind of going, that was amazing that I didn't lose any cameras. None of my gimbals went down. Didn't run out of storage. Lighting was good enough. The sound was good. And it's a bit of a relief because it goes wrong so often.
Well, this is the thing. I think because I feel like with live streaming, it's still a relatively new field in terms of certainly from a professional angle. I think everything that we're getting now is like the equipment standards are definitely better. But I think a lot of us started with kind of hobbyists.
Yeah.
Kind of technology, and especially think like programs with like OBS, open source kind of softwares that are great and do their thing, but equally are unfortunately very subject to going down quite a lot.
We definitely despair.
Yes, and things like that. So I think I've had certainly that exact situation where you think I think my overwhelming takeaway from starting to do live streaming is that no matter how prepared you think you are, you're not prepared enough, because there will be something. For me, one of the big things that goes wrong most often when we're out in the field is dependence on other people's understanding of what we're doing. So I've had a number of times, because the protocols for YouTube access have changed, and it's all two-factor authentication through Google now. Clients assume that if you've been given the streaming key, that's all you need, and that you can, pop it into your, like we use an ATEM or, your software key or whatever that you're using. And all you have to do is hit go, and there's no reason for you to have access to anything else. And the sheer amount of times where I've gone, are you sure? Are you sure you don't want me to have access? And they're like, no.
Oh, no.
It's our security protocol. We can't have that. I'm like, are you going to have someone on site on the day who has access to that YouTube channel? Because I've guaranteed that you've set it up as a one-time stream, which is also terrifying.
Yes, because or somebody refreshes the page, it has a new key.
It's gone. Or you've set it up as a repeated thing, but you haven't got someone who's there to hit the go live button. And it's just finding out all these little quirks and things.
We mostly learn by disaster, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is probably the same in a lot of
a lot of fields.
A lot of fields of sound or lights or things. It's what goes wrong. I realised there's a kind of an email that I send to clients, and it feels completely overkill. It's got a set of it's really structured as kind of like assuming, and it's things like the date, the time, how long it is, the rough format, with the room it's in, to try and say at least, because I've been booked for a lecture theatre and realised they've actually booked the one next door. Yeah. And I've set up in the one that they said, but not the one they booked. And then they come and say, we're it's 10 minutes time in here, at which stage I said, like, no, it's in here. Put a sign in the door telling people for the next 4 hours the rooms have swapped because I'm not moving. So there's a set of that. There's a set of I will provide. Things like you're going to get handheld mics. I realised with live streaming, quite a lot of the time, you either can't rely on other people doing the sound, or there isn't any that's going to be good enough, and pictures are useless if you can't hear it. So you end up doing sound as well as pictures. You'll run the slides if I do a lot of conferencing stuff, so they'll run off my laptop. I'll give you a clicker, rather industrial one that you can't go wrong with, but they will run off mine so that I have that directly into the things. I'll put it on the screen for you, I'll put it on my thing. And then there's a you will do, and I realise it gets quite prescriptive. It's things like, you will add me as an editor on your YouTube channel. Yes. Because I will start and stop the thing, and I will set up the thing because I don't trust you to get the right thing. And things like, you'll give me a running order, because if I don't get a running order the day before, I know that we're in bad territory. And if you want name captions, you give them to me the day before, because I'm going to build them the day before. It's kind of and it must feel odd as the client who's hiring you, because they get this kind of thing which is overkill, but it's basically a list of all the things that have gone wrong, trying to
that
mitigate
you need to
them.
avoid. I think the thing that I've discovered from doing sort of more corporate conferencey things is never underestimate people's lack of understanding that if they have their own laptop that they want to present from, they're probably going to have a dongle that adapts to an HDMI to go into your SDI splitter, or just having their basic knowledge of their own laptop. Because the amount of times that I've had clients and stuff be like, you can be as strict as you like with them, be like, this is the deadline for the PowerPoint presentation, because I have to build it onto the show laptop and then have the queue system ready to go, as you said. Please don't come with last minute changes. It's really difficult for us to do. And they just rock up and they're like, I'm just going to run it off my own laptop.
They arrive with a PDF.
They arrive.
The best recently was actually somebody, because the email now says, usually says kind of PowerPoint or Keynote. Very happy to do both, but not PDF. And it's now had to add, and not Canva. Because people rock up with a Canva presentation or Prezi, and they kind of go, it it's not the same. It doesn't go full screen the same. It doesn't.
Yes, it's
I
there's all
can't.
this awkwardness.
I can't rip it, kind of screen share it into something. You do realise I'm putting it on a screen, a projector, and I'm putting it on a live stream, and it actually looks different. Your wee head's down here, but it's not up on the screen, and I'm doing all kinds of wizardry that you don't realise.
Yes.
That's why I wanted it, and it's kind of like, do we have to educate the world, or it's kind of, there's a lot of people-y things.
It's a lot of things. That's the thing that I think I certainly underestimated, was the amount of client hand-holding that you have to do, especially when it's like, for us it's a very obvious thing, but you're like, presentations have to be in 16:9.
Yes.
Because our super sources that we build so that we have picture-in-picture are 16:9. 16:9 is also the main ratio of the projector that we're using. So it means then we're not going to get ugly black bars in all of our presentations.
So 16:10 and 4:3. Yep. I have one client who uses 4:3. Their default templates are that, and you kind of go, it looks really bad, because when I go picture by picture, it just doesn't really change. It just kind of lurches sideways, and it looks very weird. Or you end up putting that with massive bars across the top and the bottom and the side, and it's a tiny little thing in the corner of a projector, which looks off. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that I think my main worries are, like, I think, is it kind of like network security, good audio.
Audio is the biggest thing, I think.
Lighting, I would like it to be bright. I'm using iPhones, which have fairly small sensors in them. You're using much nicer, expensive cameras. Well, but they have some of the same problems.
They have all the same problems, because we recently did something at Ulster University, and we had two of our very nice cameras with us, but they had the fluorescent lights in emergency lighting state, because they liked it because it wasn't as bright. It didn't feel as clinical, but also meant that it was basically in the dark for us, and they kind of came up to us afterwards and like, where's all your professional lights? And we're like, that's not how that works. But yeah, lighting is a big thing for me. I think people grossly underestimate how light things need to be for camera. I think people assume that cameras see how the human eye sees, and they assume that, you've got a big fancy camera with a big fancy lens, it's going to be perfect in every lighting state. Of course it's not. No. But yes, even I would just like people to learn how to use a microphone. That would be great. Because
you're for a handheld, your chin talks, but your tummy rumbles. Is my usual
is the whole thing. Because even just lectern mics, the amount of times people have gone, you can hear me, and then they shove the microphone out the way, and you're like, do you remember all the money that you're paying for the live stream? No one can hear you now. Yes. So I think audio is actually, I think more so than cameras. Actually, I think that's been my biggest learning curve as a streaming producer, has been learning how to try and get around those picadillos with audio, and trying to learn audio as a secondary skill more so, because but learning how to best place room microphones, and how to have if you are having a lectern mic, trying like heck to have it in a position where no one's going to move it up and down, or even and as you said earlier, with lapel placement, just making sure that's on the right side, because people tend to lean and things like that. But I think that if everybody could just take away a lesson in how to hold a microphone, because the amount of times that I've been on quite upscale productions where people have, and you go your whole lecture, you go through and you go, speak into the microphone, because that's what they're for. But then you'll be off, and then you're like, the audio is getting lower and lower as people's arms get tired, and then they start pointing them towards each other, and then they throw in a whole other thing when they have an audience member bring in. But I think with me, for audio especially, learning how to do it and how to route it properly was really important, because I have stopped assuming that people understand how a Zoom call works, because the amount of times that I've been on a conference and they've gone, right, we have someone coming via Zoom, and you will say at every meeting beforehand, are they just presenting, or do you need to speak to them? No, they're just presenting. We just need their audio. And I've stopped trusting people, because...
And suddenly the world of mix minus, which we'll not explain today, but the ability to not hear yourself.
It's awful.
About half a second late.
Exactly. So that has been a big steep learning curve. So by now, I've just learned how to, no matter what, if in the conference situation, that if there's going to be a Zoom participant, I will bill in an extra half an hour just to build that in, because 90% of the time, even more so, there is inevitably going to be a throwaway, like, oh, we can let's talk to everybody. So
because one of my assumptions at the top is that it starts with, all the people presenting are going to be in the room.
Yeah.
And then usually in brackets it goes, and if that's not the case, if you pay me a bit extra, we can do the hybrid thing, but it does require extra kit.
Yes.
And then the extra kit is built into the rack. But I mean, I used to have a 4U rack, so kind of, about 4 sets of things, and it's kind of gone up to 10, which feels like it's an awful lot of kit. And it's getting very heavy to lift. But in there, there's an audio interface because that makes the Zoom a bit easier.
Yeah.
There's a feedback destroyer for rooms that are just a bit weird if I'm going to use their PA. And there's a set of screens. I mean, I'm mostly iPad, iPhone based, but actually a set of 3 monitors because it's just handy being able to see what's up on the screen behind you or the preview and
100%.
various things. An HDMI matrix. I never thought I would need one of those. I even have a bigger one that I normally don't bring with me for big gigs, but I can normally do 4x4. And you just kind of realise that it gets more and more stuff that used to be able to put in my back.
Yeah.
I once flew over with a Flybe to Salford and kind of recorded, streamed a conference. And it was about 30 kilos on my backpack, which was hand luggage because it was just inside the thing. If it had fallen out of the locker on top of somebody, it would have killed them on the flight. And I had really sore thighs, I realised the next morning, because it was a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And I'm not really built for trekking around. But that was possible back in those days. But actually now, no, there's a flight case.
Yeah.
There's a trolley with PA on it. There's a trolley with a pretty good digital mixer. And the kit has got much bigger in order to get around some of the problems.
Some of the issues, yeah, I agree. And I also think just that people's standards and expectations have gone way up, which is great because I remember when I first started, maybe what's that now, 6 years ago, when you said you were the live stream team, people expected you to come in with a gimbal and an iPhone, and that was it. Because, we were used to like sticking an iPhone in the back of the room and not expecting very much. But I actually think the pandemic kind of really escalated people's expectations, which is both a good and a bad thing. Yes.
My world, I'm always trying to kind of get it quite simple, or like hardware solutions that are in a rack. That about the only thing is that maybe if it gets knocked, if it falls over, but it's fairly kind of stable. And I've realised, but then you start paying for that, and then you pay for it in weight
very
as well
quickly.
as money.
Yeah.
And setup time as well.
Yeah.
Increase what I could do in 40 minutes probably takes an hour and a half now. But you're getting a lot more. You might even get a confidence monitor.
Yes.
But but I think probably the conclusion of our chat, which is it's great because we don't often get to.
No, we don't.
We live in the same building and occasionally cooperate, but we don't get to do. I mean, we've ended up being jack of all trades.
Yeah.
And we've also ended up being technology of all trades because so many other things go wrong that we're probably only people in the room sometimes to fix or to notice. We'll be the first to notice it goes wrong. But it's also a massive amount of trying to just understand from the client what they haven't told you.
Yes.
And get them to deliver the things that you really would make your life easy, as opposed to fly by night.
Yeah.
Just fingers crossed, let's hope it works.
Absolutely. I think there is definitely you have to be a bit of a fortune teller as well.
Yes.
You have to try and predict. You're like, okay, so it's this kind of conference. So there's going to be this kind of clientele and this kind of presenter.
Well, we have an academic who never intended to fly but said that they would.
They'd be there.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're going to have so I've just started, like my emergency kit has just like 5 different tested dongles at least, and like keynote presentation things and things like that. And you're like, as we said, like just predicting like, right, they're doing this, so there's a good chance they might do this. So I think, I think for our kind of field, it's really interesting is that it's probably the most multidisciplinary. It feels very singular, like when you say you do live streaming. I think people just assume that, you're the person with the laptop goes click, yes, blah, 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 blah. But I think it's so multifaceted and multidisciplinary. And not only do you have to keep on top of, hardware and physical technique and learning how to, balance a camera and X, Y, and Z. You also have to learn about 15 different softwares that your clients could potentially be wanting to use and keep on top of that.
Which car park will be closest to the building in that case? Will it be possible to get a van in and a ramp?
Most importantly, where can you get a decent cup of coffee? That's the most important.
Because actually food...
Yeah, they forget.
On a bad day, that's what keeps you going.
Yes, they do, yeah.
And that's probably a good place to end, actually, because
probably.
the fact that we've finally realised that us being mentally and stomach healthy is probably what gets us through very long days of setup and teardown.
Absolutely, because I think I've 2 hours up, 2 hours down, Too much.
It's too much. Excellent.
There we go.
Time for coffee.
That's it.